Radio, WUTK 90.3 FM in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh my God, the invasion is coming.
It's football time in Tennessee.
The kick is up. The kick is good. No, it is no good.
Dobbs drops back, looks, loads up, fires long for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Tennessee. Win! Caught by Tennessee, Jawan Jennings.
Jackson left corner. Got it. Jackson drops a bomb on him.
I don't know about y'all, but I want to win a national championship.
Nard on the drive. Steps back. 15. Got it. Nard hits the bucket.
Dobbs hit as he lets it go. Man open. Caught. He's down the sidelines. It's Jawan Jennings. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Dixon's on the net.
Huff wants to go one-on-one. Pulls up from 17 and nails it.
It's Cookie. It's Cookie. Bunny. Evans has it open. 3 and he hits.
Now is the time that you step up and play Tennessee football. Tennessee plays its best football. It can play with anybody in the country.
This will be Manning. Back to throw. Across the middle. Pass complete. This paid 10-5. What did he do? All he did was score. Joey Kent. Touchdown on play number 1.
Welcome in to the home field advantage for all things Big Orange Athletics. Rock Solid Sports on 94.3 WUTK. Here's tonight's host.
And live from Cool Beans, it's a special episode of Rock Solid Sports here on the Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports podcast here, the 139th episode. I'm Nick Hill. I'm actually in Chattanooga. I'm not in Knoxville tonight at Cool Beans. Kind of wish I was. But joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, but in Knoxville in spirit is Gus Tomazeli. And guys, we have a different episode. We're not really going to talk much about sports. There's really not much going on. Of course, we've got no All-Star games tomorrow. The home run derby is going on right now. But there's really not a ton to talk about, at least that pertains to Brazilian and American sports. And there's a topic that we really wanted to speak on here this evening that is the whole reason why this podcast exists, why our friendship exists. What is occurring to WTK 90.3 The Rock in Knoxville. If you go back to episode 1, how we explained why we started the podcast, that we met at 90.3 The Rock, and we kind of wanted to continue that what we were doing there to a podcast where we would have unlimited time to do what we really wanted to do and talk sports. And unfortunately, that's being threatened at this time. And guess, we found out about this late last week, and a lot has happened since then in the world. And we may or may not address that at some point during this episode, but it's kind of weird being here and seeing what brought us together being frankly dismantled. And also, shout out to our fellow colleague from WTK, Rock Solid Sports, Dylan Becker. I believe still at Disney World, the happiest place on earth. I don't know if any place in America right now is the happiest place on earth, but
most magical place on earth. It says it on our name tags, and we have to know the difference. Happiest is Disneyland in California, but sorry, I'm late and out of breath. Had to represent.
Absolutely. Yeah. The most magical place. Hopefully they're blocking all the news in Disney World that way. That's the only way that you can pretend it's the most magical place. It's
been weird as hell with all of the personal news going on, which we're going to get to, and all the world and American news going on, and just being at Disney. It's odd, but people are on vacation. They come to us to forget about their problems. And so we do our best to make sure that happens despite whatever's going on.
I just have to ask you, were you in the park Saturday afternoon when everything went nuts?
So I was somewhere in front of the castle, I think, and I felt my phone vibrating, and I can't answer my phone while I'm in front of people. But when I went to the break room shortly after, I texted my friend Blaine, who he's watched us a bunch of times. Shout out to Blaine. Hopefully he's watching right now. I texted him what happened, because all my friends and family know, don't I don't want to say don't contact me while I'm at work, but unless it's important, it can wait. And he just texts me, Donald Trump got shot. So, and it's one of those things where this isn't a political show, I just want to say it, whether you disagree with the man or not, nobody really deserves getting shot. And so you just kind of hate to see it, even if you have that opinion on them.
Right,
You know?
you can go back through my political history. I've never been a huge fan of Donald Trump, but what happened the other day was a disgrace. Like we should resolve our political differences at the ballot box in debate. We should not resort to violence, because when the moment that we okay violence as a society is the moment we cease to have a society. And of course, we look through times in American history. It seems to be cyclical. You look back at the 1960s, of course, the 1860s with the American Civil War. Unfortunately, we've had these time periods before, assassination attempts, and it's just surreal because admittedly we had the news on. I was working on Saturday. I'd come back home to eat dinner. We had the news on. Of course, they were playing the rally, and we just hear pop, 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 pop. And I was just like, we didn't know what happened at first. And of course, this weekend was insane working in news. Just to say the least. I mean, I went from doing just solely sports to doing, sports and news in the same day. So it's just unbelievable what happened.
And as journalists, that's kind of our obligation. Sure, we have whatever it is we focus on. But I remember the day, like we're already starting with the WUTK memories. I was in the middle of a music shift when I read that Kobe Bryant died. And just because at the time it seemed like something so far-fetched and unrealistic, and like one of those tabloids you see in the grocery store, that I just like kind of chose to ignore it since it came from one of my friends and the source didn't seem legit. But then I read later that it really happened, and that's always bugged me that I kind of ignored my obligation to talk about it.
Yeah, I remember I was getting ready for involvement in the Molly Win conference there in the spring of 2020. Well, actually, late winter of 2020. And
Yeah, it was late January, I think.
I was at a Lady Vols game was a Sunday, and I remember the
Mhm.
vibe was so weird. And first and foremost, definitely great show tonight because and I have some memories too, being at WTK and Donald Trump, because I was doing a live show during like really late night because I was like that was my last college radio day, and I was gonna travel, so I only had time to do like really early morning, and that was a day that Donald Trump contracted COVID-19. And it was reported really like 1 a.m., almost 2 a.m. So I reported live at WTK that the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, at the time had COVID, and we still at the time that when people contract COVID, it was very uncertain. The reaction now it feels different, but yeah, and definitely brings me a lot of emotions talking about WTK 90.3 The Rock, because as Nick said, that's why we create this podcast. That's why this friendship with me, with Nicholas Hill, with Dylan Becker, Jason Warwick, that is going to join later, and so many other people that I had the privilege to meet through that amazing radio station that opened their arms to me on December 17, 2017. And I remember, how I wanted to work in radio in Knoxville, and I emailed all the radio stations in the city of Knoxville, and only WTK replied to my email. And Benny said, "Come, do some training, and we see, from there." And from then on, I blossomed. I had opportunities of a lifetime, on the music department, doing DJ shifts, and then on the sports department, at Rockstar Sports, from host to sports director. So that was a big journey, and I want to do some memory lane, but also, I mean, we have to talk about what is happening and why we're doing this episode honoring WTK.
Absolutely. Before we really get into that, shout out to Rafael Fernando Deli Videve wishing Bugassa a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Almost. In Brazil, it's gonna be in about 49 minutes. But yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it's almost my 31st birthday.
Absolutely.
So
Shout out to
someone
DJ Drew.
oh my god, DJ Drew. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love his show, Mothership. Oh my god, I have a memory. I don't know if I should say or not involving you, Drew, and WTK, but since it's late at night, I'm gonna say it anyway, because my last New Year's Eve in America was 2020 to 2021, and I think Drew, you're doing like some sort of a specialty show on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, like from the 31st, December 31st to January 1st. And your music was so good that night. I always remember because then I was such in a good mood, enjoying the New Year's Eve, the passage of a new year, enjoying music. And then how can I say that politely? I had coitus with my ex-girlfriend, listen to WTK and DJ Drew. I had to share their memory. I had to share that memory.
Oh, God.
Hell yeah.
We have to line up the show, We have to line up.
Things have been depressing as shit over the past couple days. We gotta tell all of our funny stories.
Drew says, yes, my marathoner playing Brazilian D&B.
Oh my god, yeah. That's true. That's why I remember that night. Oh my god, that was.
Hey, for a DJ though, that's gotta be one of the greatest honors. Yes, you are what I put on to do the deed. Like that has gotta be like an all-time. Lol, I played booty shaking music just for love making.
Yes.
I'll say this: I was definitely not doing the same thing on New Year's Eve 2020, or really anytime since. But that's not really a subject for this podcast.
Yeah. Let's go more seriously. But sorry,
How do we go from there?
I had to share the memory because
I'm available for anyone.
No, and it's because he's watching right now, and we're talking about WTK memories.
You might as well.
I had to talk about that memory. It was a good memory. Involving a radio station that I love. That's all about what music and radio brings us.
All about
what music does to you.
Hey, look, it's not like you could go out and really party anywhere on New Year's Eve 2020. Anyway, I mean, everything was shut down unless you just didn't care.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I had to do like a home party from 2020 to 2021. So that's why I remember that moment. Yeah, that's true. That's all that matters with good music. So I know we kind of diverse to why we're doing this memory. This talk about WTK, but I had to talk about my memories, and we're gonna talk about more about the show. But definitely, I want to get to why we're doing this and why WTK is kind of on the news eye, on the bullseye kind of Knoxville, actually.
Right, and there's I guess a difference between what's been really reported, and between what we've heard. And before we go into this, none of us are in Knoxville. So first and foremost, what actually is going on behind closed doors, it's only based off what we're hearing. So I don't want to. And maybe I'm just thinking about this as a journalist within me. Whatever we talk about, at least from my perspective, I'm not trying to blame any one particular person or blame any particular program or anything. But all we can do is speculate why the things that are occurring. And with that, let's kind of go into this. So this all started, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And we started getting reports from some of the folks that are still in Knoxville that Benny was no longer allowed at WTK. He had been suspended without leave. And that WTK office was shut down. And that apparently they had stationed a police officer outside of the radio station, so no one could get in. And from there, it was just like, okay, what's going on? All the shows are off the air. I don't know if they still are. I'm assuming they are. Administrative leave. There you go. That's the correct term, Drew. All the shows are taken off the air. So basically, it's just automated music, which doesn't work. We can get to the technical aspect of that later.
Yeah, it messes up the hourly stuff.
Exactly. The only show that really has aired, honestly, was the Fun House, but they had to go to a government public access channel.
Yeah, Knoxville Community TV, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. So, and they streamed that Friday night, but really nothing's aired. Of course, all the ads are not really running. I mean, all the sponsors are beginning to pull out, and it has come to light that the administration apparently wants to take WTK in a different direction. So, if you're unfamiliar with the way WTK has worked historically, so for many decades, of course, Benny Smith, obviously, we all love Benny. He has run WTK since, I believe, was it 1982? I think that's like it's been since the 80s. And most college radio stations in this country are funded by their universities, which comes with, a lot less creative freedom. And Drew said 1984. I was close. WTK has not had that. WTK has never been funded by the university. It has always had to go out and secure its own funding like any normal commercial radio station, which means, yes, you don't have, I guess the same security you would from a collegiate radio station or from, a normal collegiate radio station rather. But that means that, you actually have to conduct business. And that's been one of 90.3's great strengths over the years, right? It's having to bring in these students and teach them how to go out and conduct business, how to underwrite, how to, take care of sponsors. When we did Rock Solid Sports, we always had to be at Cool Beans on Mondays, have to be at Full House Social on Wednesdays, go between like the Hill Bar and Grill. And we had, I think, the Old City or Sports Bar for a little bit on Fridays. We had to take care of our sponsors. Like that was always a huge deal. And you learn like how important business is to securing, to start securing, to make sure our shows stay on the air. And because, everyone who works there, right? Like all the student DJs, all the adult DJs are volunteers. Like no one was being paid. I've never been paid to be at WTK. I don't guess.
Me too.
Right. Yeah, like we were volunteers. People came to WTK to do their specialty shows because they loved WTK. They loved doing radio. They loved, vibing with the community. Because if you ever drive in the Knoxville area, the 90.3 signal only goes out like 10 miles. You can't really get it outside of the immediate Knoxville metro area or, on the internet. So it's very much, it's very big. And as Drew said, just kind of go back through some of the comments here. As he mentioned, it's very little funding from the department for at least 30 to 35 years. Only through Benny's idea to start underwriting we were able to hang on for so long. And the community and our listeners were the only ones between us and our being sold reformatted much sooner. And the fact that with all of the cost of massive inflation, we think about how much more expensive things have gotten in 40 years from 1984 to 2024. I mean, the fact that WTK has been able to survive and adapt for that long goes to show how amazing of a leader Benny Smith is. I mean, and all the talents he has nurtured. I mean, Mike Keith is one example, the voice of the Tennessee Titans. One of the most iconic voices, radio voices in all of Tennessee. Pretty much everyone in Tennessee knows who Mike Keith is when you turn on the radio. Ryan McGee, prominent ESPN journalist. And of course, there are many others who have been positively impacted. Some of the music artists.
John Wilkerson, the voice of the Tennessee baseball, who's definitely the guy that everybody's talking about since he called one of the best moments Tennessee athletics in the recent times.
Right, and like baseball started on WUTK. And then eventually the UT athletic department decided to start producing baseball games for radio, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah. I remember Benny telling me that baseball broadcast started at WTK.
Absolutely. So we did get. So this all leads us to what we've gotten today. So I'm going to pull up an article from the Daily Beacon. Now, once again, we can only report what's been out there.
I can put it on the screen if you want to.
Yes. Okay. So this is from the Daily Beacon. This is the student newspaper at WUTK, and of course we worked with them all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Daily Beacon's great.
They gave me a ride in the 2019 Tennessee Alabama game in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. Oh, that's right. Oh, you're controlling it on your side and not mine. All right, there we go.
Okay, I put it yours.
Okay, so just to kind of read it, I'm not going to try to read all of this, but I'll kind of paraphrase. So according to the Daily Beacon, then they obtained an email that was sent out to faculty within the College of Communication and Information that basically Dr. Joseph Mazur, who's the dean of the college, basically claims that Benny Smith has decided to retire. And basically, they have a traditional PR. We appreciate his many years of service and all that. We're going to do a smooth transition. So here's the things to really pay attention to here. So the email claims that WTK and WUOT, which is basically the NPR station on campus, and they are funded by the university. So they operate like a traditional, like a more traditional college radio station versus WTK, who's been independent, will continue to maintain separate identities. Matt Keaton, underwriting marketing manager, will maintain WTK's daily operations on an interim basis, or reporting to Jody Hamblett, who runs the NPR station. Now, I don't know either one of those two, so I can't really speak to their character. I know some other folks who do know them.
Matt's cool.
But that's what they're saying. And then as for station volunteers, the email says they will likely not be utilized as they have been in the past. So like Gus, for example, didn't technically go to UT, but he could come in and work at WTK. Chloe, our good friend Chloe, her dad, who runs the
Funhouse. The
Funhouse, yeah.
Rob, he, obviously he is much older than us, so he hasn't been in college for a very long time. So question number one here. What do they mean by likely not be utilized as they haven't in the past? Are they just going to try to get rid of all the specialty shows? Because that's been the identity of WTK. I hate to say this, we all had to do it at one point, but no one really cares about the individual volunteer student DJs that come through that are doing it for JRM 175. People gravitate to the Funhouse, Rock Solid Sports, to the various specialty shows that people get accustomed to, that they expect to be at a certain time each week.
And the most absurd of all, there's no proof that it's say that, but it's kind of implied is that we want to give more space to the students at Jam 175, and that's why we have to reshift the volunteer DJs. But I was there for 3.5 years, and I never saw a student not be able to be on air because of a volunteer DJ. Never.
But they were always looking for people.
Yeah.
Literally. This myth of, we don't have enough space for student DJ. There were times where, Gus, you went in there a lot to voice track.
Yeah.
For specific times that we knew that no one would be there.
Oh yeah, I voice track a lot of times, even during business hours. That would be times for example in the morning or late afternoon that I had to voice track because there were no and especially during the summer where students a lot of them are away, and I had to fill in a lot of the times, especially being live, because I know the listeners know the difference between if you are live and if you are recorded. They know it. And 10 out of 10 times, they want somebody live there talking to you. I got so many calls from people like, hey, I appreciate you being live. I'm here working as an Uber, or I'm here enjoying the day. And that's what the spirit of a radio station. And again, I want to express that again. There were many, many, many opportunities for these UT students to, express themselves. There were never a time that a volunteer DJ that were not a student took an opportunity from a student. I guarantee that.
Absolutely, and like it was always more comfortable to have more than one person with you DJing, because especially
Yeah.
when you're a young student like that, like you wanted to learn. Like being with Gus, I learned a lot because I didn't know what I was doing in radio at first, so like I had to learn what I was doing from people who knew what they were doing. And Drew has made some interesting comments here. So first, they should have he says the college should have put out a press release and gone out in front of this instead of waiting for a couple of days or so. Anything but professional, courteous, and respectful to Benny, our staff, volunteers, and students. Yeah, I mean, this has been 5 days that the college has literally just sat back and let rumors run rampant about the circumstances behind the situation. And furthermore, she adds that Hamblett, the WUOT lady, has no experience in commercial radio. Check out her. Okay, and basically it says that.
Yeah, that's his opinion, Drew's opinion about. I believe her name is
Jody Hamblett. Basically, she, I'm not going to further elaborate on that, but basically, he clearly doesn't have a very high opinion of her. Again, I haven't, I've never met her, so I don't want to speak on someone.
I haven't either.
Yeah, me too. And WOT has their share of audience and a different tone. Like, there's 2 different entities. WOT is, I'll say, more for like a middle-aged kind of listener who likes NPR, who is a different kind of listener from WTK. WTK listener is either the students who want to learn new music or the people who wants to, listen something different from the radios, like in the mid-30s, early 40s, or, wants to know what's the social scene of Knoxville. I remember, do you guys remember the concert calendar? That was amazing.
No, I wrote that all the time, and I loved it.
Because
that was so much fun. I will never forget announcing Dying Fetus.
Yep.
It's a metal band, and I'm just like, oh my god, I cannot believe that there's literally a band called Dying Fetus. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, my friend listens to them. They're exactly what you think they sound like.
Yeah, it's
not that there's anything wrong with the metal sound, because WUTK provides whatever your sound is, they will play it because they're open to introducing whatever to the people, and that's what's great about them.
I mean, like first of all, Dying Fetus is not necessarily my style. I'm just not a metal guy, to be completely real. But I still have, I believe, a WTK playlist where it's called "Songs I Learned While Songs I Heard While DJing at WUTK," and it's definitely one of my favorite playlists because it takes me back to that time when I was in college.
And also the diversity of music, WTK had. It makes your horizon expanded. There were so many genres and bands and music that I didn't know that I was like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so that I would never listen if it weren't for WTK.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm still looking for my old playlist there because it's been a minute. Anyway, back to what Drew said. He says the format will pretty much fall apart under time. Without me bringing the fuck, will be a lot less love making for those such as Gustavo. Will be more voice tracking, but we might now be going to a separate feed at times when they can't cover shifts. That's like insane. I mean, because I guess they're going to have to basically program it to be on the hour when no one's there.
Yeah, if I feel like it's basically the radio station gonna lose their soul because you know I kind of wanted to know more about college radio stations around the United States. There were even an app I think called Radio FX app that that was and
There we
the,
go.
and there weren't so much diversity of the college radio station normally is like a student lab, and I know it's important, but WHK was more than that. WHK was more than a student lab. It was a radio with a soul that
Mhm.
students find their identity, find their purpose with a lab. That was the difference.
And it's you make a bunch of friends when you go through. You guys have been graduated forever. I've only been out for a little over a year, but like every so often since you guys have graduated, we've texted about stuff. Nick, I remember every so often you'd text me about something that happened in the hockey world, asking for my opinion, or you guys always sent me we all send each other birthday messages, and the one memory that sticks out to me is my senior year. Tennessee was playing Alabama in basketball, and we were doing a show at the same time. And Rock Solid Sports ended like about the second half, but we couldn't get into the game because we didn't reserve our ticket. So I want to say it was me, Chloe, Allison Seaton, one of the newer people that I brought in. Who else was on the Wednesday show that night? I can't remember. But we all went to the Hill and watched the end of the game, Wing Wednesday, obviously, and just had a good time, made those memories. And if it wasn't for WUTK, we probably all wouldn't have met, which we have that amongst anyone who's been through it.
And the thing about Rock Solid Sports too is because you had a different cast every night, no two shows sound the same. Every show had a different personality. Some were more analytical, some were a bit more comedic in nature. I mean, we could do anything. We could do it all. And I did find that playlist, guys, if you want to bring it up. Now, obviously, I can't play any of these songs for copyright, but you can just see. And the Wide Array got Modest Mouse. I remember I saw them in concert. I've seen Moon Taxi. I love this song, Taking It to the Grave. And you can just see all the different songs that have come on, like Dad Dreams by, I don't know what that is for there. Of course, Shannon and the Clams, they're amazing. Little Dragon. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. I mean, Bluky Dacus. Just so many different things. Dr. Dog. Just all kinds of different Casey Musgraves and Tyler the Creator song, and just all of these songs that I hadn't heard before.
And you
only
only but that's what a radio that has the most diverse kind of music has the ability to it. But back to Rock Solid Sports, because I think I may be overestimated, I might be, but especially during the time that we were together, we kind of revolutionized a little bit sports radio in Knoxville with Rock Solid Sports, because there are a lot of things that we did that now other radio stations do it. When COVID hit, we had to come up with a lot of different ways to cover sports, and we had a lot of Zoom press conferences. And then one of my ideas was, why would we do a post-game show showing press conference and we analyze it?
We did that. I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I see radio stations in Knoxville doing the exact same thing we did. Showing the press conference and analyzing and debating the post game.
I mean, some of the most legendary moments of our partnership that will never will stop or come from that, like the Jeremy Pruitt Auburn question.
I'll pull that.
I was at Arkansas.
Yeah, I'll pull up that. I have to find that. That was a great moment. I'll find it. Hold on.
I forget. I was one of those two, but basically we had asked why could you not stop a slant? And Jeremy Pruitt basically said we were idiots and that we should go back and watch the game. And if you go back and watch the game, they couldn't stop a slant. But hey, he's now, as I said, now he's a PE teacher for an elementary
stale ham
school.
sandwich of a football coach.
Yep, the stale ham sandwich. Well, so while you're reading that, I'm going to go back to read a bit of Drew here. Yeah, he says he would have given up his time slots in a heartbeat, but no students ever stepped forward. Plus, there's only one mothership admiral. He also adds, so basically, he says they were going to make us friends of UTK and allow us access to the building. They sent me a questionnaire, including a question about my relationship status, which is interesting. And first and foremost, too, let's also say this. UTK is a public university that's funded by state tax dollars. I don't know if it's legal for them to really be kind of limited access for citizens into WTK if it's on a public campus. But, I'm not a lawyer, but still that's an interesting, situation. And I filled it out, but after that, crickets. I had the first punk rock alternative metal show on New Rock Heavy Alternative. And he said they put him on backstage with Wu-Tang, and they ain't nothing to F with. If you know that song.
Yeah. I found the clip. I found the clip. One of the most interesting moments. Definitely.
Coach, you had a first half. You guys shut out Arkansas. And you guys went into the second half and couldn't hold it. Do you think that the defense kind of was struggling to cover slant routes? Do you think that was the reason that you guys couldn't hold it in the second half?
Well, no. The 70-yard play was a 9 route when they outside released us over there. And then the other play, the 16 caught coming back across, was just a scramble play where you ran out the backside, and we should have had a backside safety back there. But we didn't. So, I mean, that's 140 yards on 2 plays and basically set up 2 scores, and they had 1 drive there to start the quarter.
But it's another game. I will find it. That's
Stale
not
ham
it.
sandwich.
I think it was Auburn. I think it was Auburn.
He's like, that's a 9 round. I'm like, okay, bro, you couldn't cover the middle of the field. That was the problem against that mediocre Arkansas team. Now, yeah, I love how you call him 16, but Traylon Burks is now in the NFL, so you'll figure on that. Granted, he's been low-key a bust, but still, that was an NFL receiver you're talking about, but And see, that's the thing. He treated the games like it was high school. I feel like he didn't.
He was preparing for his new job.
Exactly. At Rainsville, Alabama. The PE teacher at Plainview High School. Or no, Plainview Middle School. I'll do one better. He's running around he's going to be teaching 6th graders how to play wiffle ball tomorrow.
But
well, then again, it's summer, so I guess not, but still.
Yeah, but definitely I want to find the clip that he wasn't happy with me. But while I try to find it, I want to say this to Drew, because he was one of the guys that always were nice to me. He represented all the spirit that the non-student DJs had. And I met so many cool people there. Uncle Dave, that one of the most chill DJs ever, playing kind of old songs. I remember the people from YSN, the hip hop show. So many nice people that I met, and and from different backgrounds from all over the United States.
Yeah, and that was the beauty of what we had at WUTK. And, he talked, and Drew agrees that we changed the landscape with Knox Sports Talk Radio, and, agrees with the mix of music and, obviously about how bad Pruitt was, about how he never.
Oh, edutainment. That's the one I I want to remember.
Yeah, but I want to talk about, I guess, some of the actions we've heard about, like the police officer outside the station.
Yeah, that's excessive.
Well, what in the world?
Why?
Like, who authorized that? That does a chance. I want to know, has the chancellor at all weighed in on this? Has President Boyd weighed in on this? Because I feel like that's an awful precedent, and I feel like they're lucky this is happening in the middle of summer, because if all the students were back, I mean, this would be. I was on campus when Beverly Davenport was fired, and that was kind of a messy situation with that. But there's like a handful of students. But I feel like this would be a little bit more. There'd be a lot more people who would be voicing their opinion on this one in the form of protest. Because if I were a student, I would lead a protest on this.
Oh yeah, I was never one for going to any of the protests on campus, because like I just kind of wanted to get to class and do whatever I had to do. But like this is one of the rare things where it's almost personal, because WUTK was home to me. Like, being not from Tennessee, I showed up like maybe 2 weeks after I got to Knoxville, after hearing Benny's rallying speech in my, I want to say, Journalism 175 class. Just like, hey, come do this. This is exciting. Now, my focus was in TV, but Benny's introduction speech as to why we should go there was so like inspirational and motivational that I still did all the TV stuff, but the radio became like the fun hobby I did. And then when I came back the following year during COVID, because there was nothing else to do, welcomed with open arms. Same thing the following year and the year after that. It was not people aren't going to be able to have that experience anymore, possibly. And it very much pisses me off. They're lucky this didn't happen during the school year, because I guarantee you there would be students everywhere in front of the journalism building just airing their grievances and stuff, because that's how much it means to people. Even if you didn't work in the station, you still knew who Benny was, because he was just always out and about repping the Big Orange.
And WTK studio, I think, was more than a radio station studio. It was a place people enjoying being there, hanging out, having fun, chill but respectful. I never saw anybody disrespecting or stealing or doing anything detrimental to the radio station. It was a peaceful environment, was a really nice environment that people chill, enjoy it. And to have a police presence there, it was like, when I saw that, I was like, did something happen? There was like any problems, any issues regarding, any actions like stealing or altercation? Like, you start thinking if there's a police presence in a radio station, you think the most like crazy ideas.
I mean, it's like authoritarian, and I don't know how far down this road I want to go, but and granted, remember, I don't know any of the administrators involved here, but I've always thought for a while that there's too many administrators in college. There's like a bureaucrat for literally everything, and bureaucrats, when they get that power, they want to exercise that power. They want to, they feel like they have to come in, they change everything. And using a cop to do that, I mean, it feels authoritarian. And it's like you didn't ask what people wanted to do. You didn't ask what the station needed. You just said, nope, we're going to make this like our NPR station. And I just, it's disturbing to me from the outside to see that. And I hate to see a college that I've held in high regard stoop to that.
Like when I don't get not allowing people in. I personally think it's stupid, but you don't need a cop to prevent people. Simply put, just like lock all the doors. Most of us aren't stupid enough to try to break in and damage university property, mostly. And no one's gonna break the window that goes into the studios.
Oh my God! Special guest, yeah, Chloe Levery.
Hey!
Her debut
Like I said,
on
this is the Avengers Endgame of two countries.
yeah, and she's actually in Knoxville. So Chloe, just
I can hear you now.
Sorry,
I can
guys,
hear
I
you.
can hear.
yes. All right, I think she can hear us now.
Yeah, go ahead, Chloe.
Hey guys, I wanted to join for a minute. I'm on the road, but I got 2% on my phone and I had to join for just a second.
Let her cook.
Oh my God! And you're in Knoxville. How is the environment? How's UT campus? How's driving through coming? I think from around WTK area, and you're not able to go there anymore. That feels weird. I imagine.
Sorry guys, I'm on 1%. I'm sorry if my phone dies if I leave. You know where I'm at. My phone is dead. But
Okay.
yeah, Knoxville is crazy right now. I went to 6 o'clock Swerve on Thursday, which is the WUTK show that is usually hosted from with Wayne Bledsoe, who's a local guy, kind of like Benny in the music scene. And it was crazy. So many there showed up to support. It was at Barley's in the Old City. It was really crazy. And when I was told that, it was a decision from really high up in the college that we couldn't come back, there's only like 3 of us to do Rock Solid Sports right now in Knoxville. So we all kind of freaked out. And then, they were told, you can still do the show because it's only students that run the show, but I can't do the show. And I only just graduated in May, and I am not allowed in the building in what I consider to be, my radio station that is home to me. So that was pretty upsetting. We'll see what happens with all that, and I don't want.
And I think
they got her.
Just lost her. Yeah, the administration, the bureaucrats got her.
The bureaucrats. No.
I was about to make a really bad joke. I'm not going that way.
No.
I mean, so we don't go there, but Gus can talk about what happens when he listens to the station at midnight.
Well, I have a job I got to keep, all right?
Fair enough.
It's one thing to talk about personal experience. So another thing to make wild speculation with other people. But Chloe told her phone was about to die, so she's fine. But that's true. Like I cannot even imagine how the current sports department are because a lot of us when we graduated, we're still hop in, we still helped.
Yeah.
The people at Rock Solid Sports. I helped even though I was in Brazil. Nick helped too. Even I imagine Dylan, because we sense of passing the torch, gradually, not like just in all at once.
Yeah, I mean, summer's a transition period, and they're completely denying their transition period. And I don't know I forgot who's going to be the director next year, but now they're going to come in August, assuming there's still a show, because with sponsors leaving left and right, I mean, who knows, right? Like what they're going to have, and I mean, it's not good. Like what about special guest? What about interviews and stuff like that? This policy makes no sense.
I have a funny story about interviews. So during July 2020, during the COVID times, I was like, I want to bring up space of local politicians so they can talk about.
I know that.
I think I know where this is going.
But I had to say so, and I argued that for weeks, hey, let's bring up local politicians, and I finally convinced Benny, okay, you can invite them. And the first one I wanted was Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, because I felt, because he is an important politician in the local community, and I was not gonna lie, I wanted to take a picture of him because of also his legendary status at WWE. So, and then I emailed back and forth, and then I still have the emails. I was like, is he coming at 7 p.m.? I think it was July, mid-July. And no, everything is confirmed good. And then I was like, I arrived even 6:30 at the radio station, to be ready if some come early. And then 6:45, and then 7, 7:10, 7:15, 7:20. I was like, he's not coming. I was like, Jesus. And then me, JJ Person, keeping the show going while we were waiting for him, and he never showed up. And by the end of the show, we were like, hey, Mayor Glenn Jacobs didn't show up. We invited him, and we went on a rant. And then finally, the people who worked for him, I guess in some sort of capacity, reach out to me, apologizing, say he was gonna come another day. But then they found out that I made a retweet of some sort of a left wing page, Tennessee
Oh yes, the
Holler,
Tennessee Holler. Yeah, yes. The
because I
Tennessee
wanted to
Holler.
show that because I just wanted to retweet because I was like, hey, they shared up my work. It's like nice. But then because of that, they're like, no, we're not going there anymore. I was like, and then it made me feel bad because I was the one who was like, hey, let's bring up these people to the radio station, and they never showed up, and then they never wanted to talk to me again. But oh well, it's life. But it was a funny episode with a special guest that I tried to bring in at WTK.
Well, it goes to show his lack of character. I mean, the thing I've learned about working with politicians is, if they're going to when you're a politician, you have to deal with journalists and you have to deal with tough questions. And some of them, no matter how hard the question you're asked, they'll come back and talk to you again. Some of them are buttholes about it, and they won't. And that is how I evaluate the ones I like and the ones I don't. Curly Glenn Jacobs is one of those that clearly can't handle the heat, and that's on him. And and granted, the Tennessee Holler at that point wasn't as well known as they are now, because obviously they are an extremely anti-Republican page, but still, but it is what it is when it comes to that.
Yeah, was a an interesting episode that I have, since we're sharing so many memories at WTK. But yeah, but at least WTK had that open, kind of spectrum that all political sides were welcome. I always were able to share my views. Nick and Dylan knows that I lean towards more the right wing than the left wing, but I was able to talk about my Brazilian politics, my Brazilian kind of views, and all that stuff. There were even a Sunday show, I forgot the name, that JJ did it with, so many people that they brought up so many different spectrums of, politics and life that were so cool that in Knoxville radio, there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, as we have seen, is super important. The ability to be able to have those conversations is so important, because if we lose that ability, then things can really go downhill rapidly. And, it feels like we're almost at the precipice of things going downhill rapidly. I mean, a former president getting almost killed on national television is a sign of that. Yeah, this whole thing, it just reeks of power, just a power grab. The whole thing reeks of a power grab, and I hate it for Benny. I hate it for everyone associated with WTK, and it really is a shame that this is being allowed to happen by the college, by the university. And I know, obviously, the university is a big place. There's a lot of things that go on within the university, but it would be nice to hear something from the chancellor, from President Boyd.
And I remember,
it feels like we're never going to.
And I remember that President Boyd office was at Andy Hall Tower. I remember I ran into him a couple of times. So his office in the same building as WTK.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they moved. I think they moved them to the old TVA building. I think.
Oh,
at least they were in the process of. I don't know if they moved over there yet.
But he knew about WTK because he had I guess he had an office that was in the same building as WTK.
Yeah, at that point. But beyond that, it's hard to really speculate much beyond that. about the motivations. We may never truly know the real story behind this. And of course, Benny, I know, has declined to comment at all on what's going on, and that's probably for the best on his end. As he said, he's going to get his benefits. I know, obviously, his daughter's in school right now. He probably just wants to make sure that she gets through all right. And I mean, it's just he's just in a very difficult spot.
I don't know if he's watching or not, but I'm gonna say, Benny Smith, I will always be thankful for you opening the doors of WHK to me. He was hard to me, but he was so like generous, and his teachings I will carry for the rest of my life. And I understand how hard it is to him. I text him uh expressing my solidarity to him, and he kind of wanted to keep it, and he's so positive that despite all of this chaos in his life, he was still like text me, kind of praising me, telling me, still remember how passionate I was to sports radio and all that stuff. So that still makes me chill. He said, it was like, you're a good man, a top-notch sports broadcaster. You do great things. Proud to call you a friend. Stay in touch. That when I read that message, and even though he's throughout this turmoil, craziness, he still has the time to text me something like that. It shows how special of a person, how an amazing person he is.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I didn't stay in radio. I went over to TV, doing TV down in Chattanooga, but there's so much I learned about broadcasting and about being responsible and about, really becoming more confident in yourself, because doing radio, doing TV, doing any sort of media requires confidence. It requires building up, and that's what Benny's and the culture he created at WTK really was able to create, and it really has enabled so many of us to go on and do big things. Also, shout out to Rob Levering, Chloe's mother and
I'm
host.
sending the StreamYard link if he wants to join. I'm sending. Hey, Rob, I send you the StreamYard link if you want to join our podcast. It's kind of we got inspired by what he and Derek did at the Knoxville Community TV station with his show, the Funhouse. Outside of WTK, we kind of mirrored that with our podcast that was inspired by Rock Salt Sports. So that's and I send the link to Rob if he wants to join and talk about his perspective.
Oh, absolutely. And it was an amazing show to listen to on Friday. I briefly called in, and I know, Gus, you called in and had a very passionate, substantive rant. And
because I was a friend of the show, because so many times I did the Friday night show, and I right after the Rock Salt Sports show ended, Fun Houses to come. But and sometimes I would stay 20, 30, even 40 minutes at WTK, hanging out with Rob and Derek and all the crew, because they were so fun to be around. And I have another story in regarding to that. Do you guys remember we did a 2-hour show of Rock Salt Sports on New Year's Day? Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
That was a fun one.
And we had so much to talk about. Because I remember I saw on the board that the guys at the Funhouse were going to voice track. So I was like, hey, let me take at least 1 hour more to do a special episode of Rock Salt Sports, because New Year's Day there was so much talk about college football, hockey, basketball, and all that stuff. And then while the show's happening, the people at the Funhouse showed up, and I was like confused. I was like, hey, you guys want to do the show? I thought you were gonna record it. And there was some like mix up, and they ended up doing part of the hour. But it was funny that there were like a mix up, but they understood. They were like, okay, you guys can finish the show, no problem. They were so fun to be around.
Right, because wasn't this in 2020?
2021.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah. Because
January
I
1st.
was in Chattanooga, so I was
I was at the studio.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing too. Like how we were able to really take our radio station, our radio shows into onto StreamYard and everything.
31. Now I'm 31.
Yay! Happy birthday, Gus.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Happy birthday.
Now I'm officially 31 years old. I'm the ancient.
Hey, that was
31.
my hockey number. It's a good number.
Nice. And that's why I was happy to do the pod tonight, because it was kind of like, hey, since we're gonna cross midnight here in the Brazil time, then I'm gonna celebrate my birthday with this amazing crew.
Right. I do want to kind of wrap back into what I was kind of saying though. I mean, the skills that you learn from WTK. I mean, the ability to write, the cover, the access. I mean, the first time you talk to a big time coach, like Stale Ham Sandwich at the time, or Coach Barnes. I remember talking to Coach Vitello before he really took off. It's so funny. I was thinking about like the first time I really covered Tennessee baseball, and it felt like no one was there. I didn't know anything about Tennessee baseball. I knew nothing. And now, I was driving 2 hours just to go to a watch party to watch them. I mean,
and I remember doing really COVID times, hard time, like really, like I think it was like March, April. Benny got us the personal phone number of Tony Vitello, and we call him to do an interview with him, an exclusive interview with Tony Vitello. He was so nice to us. I remember he did that interview while he was driving, I think, to his like hometown in the state of Missouri, and he was so like nice and stuff. And that's one of the things I always remember about like the interviews that we did at WTK. Monica Abbott, we had an interview with her.
I mean, my favorite one still is Mike Teef. I was in awe that entire show of him.
You guys remember so you guys graduated by the time Coach Clark took over the Ice Bears. I very much miss the times of having Coach Carr on for Ice Bears Wednesday, because don't get me wrong, always great interviewing a hockey coach, but Coach Carr just had that fun energy.
I remember Carr. Like I was there.
Was a homie. Yeah.
Also, Maria Cornelius too, or something.
She was
because
great.
Whether it was Lady Vols or our baseball, of course, towards the end of our time, we started talking a lot about the Smokies and their new ballpark. Also, just on that side note, shout out to Chattanooga. We finally broke ground on the new Chattanooga Lookout Stadium. So finally, after years of political turmoil, we are finally going to start seeing a new baseball stadium be erected. And I know Knoxville's actually close to actually having theirs ready. So,
one of the fun memories I have with doing the Ice Bears Wednesday is because we had that connection with Coach Carr, and he was like actually opened up to us, even sometimes asking us questions a week in advance about like one that sticks out to me when Jack Eichel went to the Vegas Golden Knights the week before. It was, I think they already announced it, but Vegas had to figure out some salary stuff. He gave us homework and told us to I did all the work, I'll be honest. Told us to figure out what they'd have to do to make room for his salary. And then like after every game, we'd get to see him. He knew who we were, shake his hand. The last game he coached, Jason and I actually hung out with him for a little bit. And it was just so much fun building that connection with a local notable person, because that's what the station does for you.
Oh yeah. And I remember the last show of 2019, I think it was 2019 or 2019. There like sometimes like the Ice Bear players used to do like interviews on location and stuff. And then, but at the end of the year, it was hard to go on location because it was cold. And then there were like two hockey ice players that came to our studio, and we had so much fun. They talk about their lives, their their hockey careers, and that was the fun part of it. You met so many athletes and coaches, that because of all the space WTK. Like one time we interview a bull rider because there was going to be a bull rider
PBR,
competition.
yeah.
PBR, actually a Brazilian one that the PBR in Knoxville, but we had a chance to interview a bull rider. We interviewed the Globetrotters.
I think
I
one of the
remember
favorites
that
I was
one.
thinking of is calling the Lady Vols winning the SEC East. in
Oh
soccer in
yeah, the
South
lady.
Carolina.
Oh my God, I'm gonna try to find that clip because that was historic.
Yeah, because I think that was November of 2020, if I remember correctly. 'Cause
Yeah,
that was that weird year where they had to play in the fall, and then they couldn't play in the tournament until March.
Trying to remember other fun episodes.
Oh, speaking of fun, I found that the clip between the moment between me and Jeremy Brewer that was really heated up. I found it. That
What up,
was the
Coach?
moment.
Coach, with so many inconsistency on offense, do you still trust Tim Chaney as your offense coordinator for the rest of the season?
I don't know. Did you watch the game? We had more yards than they did. So,
Well, they scored more points than we did.
Yeah, you lost.
We had more yards than they did. I don't
And I
care. You were starting a trash can of quarterback in Jarrett Garantano.
And I remember the reaction on Twitter. Everybody was in disbelief. It was like, whoa, like he was really not happy with me. I'll tell you the least.
Man, that was crazy. I mean, like I blocked out the 2020 year from my mind just because. I mean, that year was not college football.
I barely remember that season. I'll be honest. It was so
I mean,
bad.
Alabama had probably one of the greatest teams of all time, and no one remembers them. Like, think about how idolized like, the 2019 LSU team is. Like the Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and like 2020 Bama was just as good, if not better. Obviously, they had Mac Jones at QB, they had Najee Harris, known traffic law respecter Henry Ruggs, and Jalen Waddle.
That's another thing I actually want to bring up. So I was going to become a Tennessee sports fan eventually, obviously going to the school. But Rock Solid Sports helped me kind of figure it out a lot more because I'm hearing everyone talk in depth about stuff. Because Maryland, I didn't pay attention to Tennessee at all. Like when I accepted going to Tennessee, I watched them in the tournament. We obviously lost. I can't remember to who because it was so long ago. But I learned Go Big Orange. I learned all the chants. I learned that the only reason I'd have any of my kids go to Alabama is if they got a free ride, and that's a big if. And it's not just the educational stuff you get from the station. You get the more goofy school spirit stuff that only we'd understand. And other people might get it too, but they learn it from their equivalent of WUTK or Rock Solid Sports because that's just kind of what it's about.
I mean, there are a lot of diehard Vols fans that never went to school at UT.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I know that. But it's the point is it helped me learn it over time rather than just like – actually, it kind of put me on a fast track since we talked about it so much because I would – like I said, I would have figured out a lot of stuff on my own. But, yeah.
Also, I just want to shout out just in sports news, Teoscar Hernandez has won the home run derby from the Dodgers. So there you go. So congratulations to him as the All-Star weekend rolls on. And also just a real brief, I know we really haven't talked any sports, but I want to congratulate both Christian Moore and Blake Burke on being drafted. Christian Moore, 8th overall to the Angels, and Blake Burke, 34th overall to the Brewers. So great to see our national champions move on in that respect.
Let's
Regal Side Stadium going out.
All right. Yes, and we'll get in a second. And also, too, just kind of a funny note here: Chase Burns, second overall to the Reds, which means he's going to have to play his AA ball in Chattanooga, which I'm very tempted whenever he comes to show up in my national championship gear and sit front seat and just stare him down the entire time with my national championship gear. Because I'm just going to be like, Chase, this is what you left. This is what you left, Chase, to go lose in the first round of the tournament at Wake Forest. But anyway, congratulations to them. But, Gus, that clip, it was a cold November night in 2020. It was a good night to wear a mask. Just keep warm. And this is the call I was able to muster out.
Absolutely crazy as Leslie Irving has the ball. She's going to kick it off from her goal line with less than 30 seconds left. South Carolina's going to gain possession here. They're going to kick it back over into Tennessee territory, but Tennessee should be able to regain possession here back in their penalty box, and they're going to kick it out with 16, 15, 14, 13. South Carolina turn them, rush it back in, they throw into the penalty box with less than 10 seconds left. South Carolina's going to try to find a way to get a shot, but Tennessee's going to kick it back out. South Carolina has the ball. They're going to have a miracle shot at 10, and the game is over. Tennessee has won the SEC East over South Carolina. They win 1-0, and the balls are rushing out onto the field, mobbing onto each other. What a win for the Tennessee soccer program. They are SEC East champions.
What? Congratulations, Nick. That was a great call.
That was. Although I almost said South Carolina won the SEC East, but Tennessee won it. Yeah. And of course, you could tell, not the most expert in soccer. At one point, I just started counting down there. It was funny. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, it was a fun call, and definitely one of the few times I've really gotten to call a game live. So I know we talked about that at points, maybe doing live soccer games, and I wish we had gotten a chance to do that.
We did it.
That would have been a lot.
We kind of did it with the Ice Bears a couple times. I remember the last one we did probably for this reason, because I was always at the games. You guys were in studio on a Friday night talking about it. Every once in a while you'd send it to me and I'd talk about what's happening. And I wish we could find the recording and I remembered the date for it because it's funny. You guys happened to jump to me at the time of the penalty shot, and my brain kind of went into panic mode because nothing was really happening. So I just kind of started commentating like golf. Okay, he lines up for the penalty shot. He is turning left, and he goes too far right. That is a miss for whatever that guy's name was. I don't remember, but...
Oh my God!
I don't know if you guys remember that, but that stuck in my head forever.
I don't think I was on that show.
No,
Gus definitely was.
No, and what's cool about it, even though we couldn't broadcast entire games, we always had people from Roxall Sports in many UT and Knoxville sporting events. We did a live from volleyball games, softball, baseball, men's basketball, lady vols basketball. Only I think UT football we didn't have live at Roxall Sports because we didn't have a show while a game was happening. And I remember not my last Roxall Sports, but the one before that, Nick. Do you remember we had the entire Smoky Stadium for us just to do that episode?
Yes. Oh yeah, because that was one of the last ones that you did was that Smokies episode, and and that was so cool being in that stadium. Because I remember it started raining at one point, and we were inside of the press box, and it was just good to be there.
Yeah, they opened the stadium for us. 2 days even before the season started, they opened the stadium for us to do a Roxall episode because they knew how much we value the Tennessee Smokies. We covered them really a lot, so that was a privilege. Not many sports teams open their stadiums for college radio station to do their sports show live from there.
I will have to go back and visit to when they open up the new stadium next year in downtown. And at the very least, exit 407 is now will at least be sustained traffic wise by the Buckies that is there now. So the Beaver will sustain.
And that's true, Drew. No one has supported the Smokies more than Roxall Sports. That's true. Like, we promoted a lot of games, and I remember I covered them a lot. So
And Chloe and Jason broke the new stadium news too.
Yeah, that's true.
So, of course, Maria Cornelius, of course, was huge in that because, obviously there was a huge, if you're not familiar, the Smokies have been playing in Kodak, which is a community about 20 miles east. It's the main get-off point off of I-40 to head down to Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, which, of course, huge tourist towns on the base of the Smoky Mountains. And for some reason, they built the baseball stadium out there. I'm assuming they thought they were going to get tourists and stuff. But I always, in a way, found it kind of annoying because I'm like, I feel like a minor league baseball team is for the city it's in. And I feel like it was a disservice to the folks of Knoxville for it to not be in Knoxville. So I'm glad the Smokies are returning to Knoxville for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they tried, but I guess it didn't work. But there were so many good memories at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. Even with my hometown team, the team that I work now, Rio Branco, there was like a post on Instagram of Rio Branco fans in the world, and my picture was at Tennessee Smoky Stadium in Kodak with the Rio Branco shirt after we beat Union Barbarense. That day I will always remember. But yeah, and
Drew says, where else can you see a game and then go grab a candy apple down the street? Yeah, I mean, right now I can go grab some beaver nuggets right down the street too. Absolutely. But it's going to be fun to see what that does for Knoxville when they come back. Man.
But bottom line, I mean, look how many stories and memories we have because of WTK, because of 90.2 The Rock, because of Benny Smith. And that's my hashtag, WTK forever. I will always be proud to be a WTK alum and had served the radio station for 3.5 years. That I'll always be proud of.
Because at the end of the day, WTK is not a physical location at the bottom of Andy Holt Tower, Volunteer Drive. It's the people that work there. It's the community and the friendships that were built over time. And like this show, as long as this show continues, WTK truly never will die, even if it doesn't produce in the future. And it's a shame that the students of the future will not get the same experience that we did. And it's a shame, too, that they are closing it off to community members like DJ Drew, like Rob Levering, like Chloe, who
like me
are not being, like Gus, who are not being paid. Keep in mind, this is not a commercial radio station. No one is being paid to be there. They are there because they love what they do. They love what they do. And DJ Rock says, I will also be proud to be a new Rock 90, the Rock Reject. That is why WUTK 90.3 The Rock is Knoxville's choice to be the musical tastemakers, to be the College of Rock, because it's an attitude that no other radio station in the state can replicate. And even if the college kills off this current iteration, I think everyone's going to find a way to get on their feet and continue doing what they love. And I hope that the folks in Knoxville, the indie scene in Knoxville, can continue to be served. And because go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, shout out to people at WOZO, a low frequency FM 103.9, that is kind of embracing the people that were not welcome anymore at WTK with their shows. For example, I was listening to Rob and Derek's Funhouse because of WOZO. So, shout out to them opening space of the radio station from all the people who were, kicked out of WTK.
Absolutely. And hopefully they can continue to grow their infrastructure to increase their reach, because we need non-commercial television, non-commercial radio to continue to allow different expression. So, yeah, Drew says, might see me there soon. More people are requesting Gustavo love making music. So, there you go on that note, because we all love WTK forever. We all love Benny Smith. And to the people who are making this decision, I really, really hope you know what you're doing in this case, because I am concerned, the rest of us are, that you don't know what you're doing here. And you're taking away a big resource, a big asset to the community in WTK. So I guess with that, is there anything else y'all would like to add?
Yeah. Any final notes, Dylan?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. If this is a career for Benny at WTK, it's been so much fun learning under you over the past, or during my 4 years there. I'm sure the people, everyone else, as we've been talking about, has appreciated learning under you. And despite all of this stuff going on, I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Yeah. And on my final note, I want to say that WTK impacted my life so much, because I was an immigrant from Brazil trying to find my space in the United States of America, and WTK gave me that space. I found a way to, do all the things I couldn't do before, and I was an immigrant and a non UT student that was able to work in a radio station that was, connected to the University of Tennessee. And I always joke with you guys that because of WTK, I was able to say that I was a Vol for life. I didn't study at University of Tennessee, but WTK kind of filled that void, made me feel like I was a part of the Vol community, and I will always be thankful for that.
And you literally were a volunteer, literally, at WTK. And to Benny, to Sam Foreman and Colin Castleberry, who brought me on to Rock Solid Sports initially, to Dean Zaleski, who I DJ'd with freshman year, sophomore, to you guys, to you, Dylan, to Jason, to Joseph, to Jackson, to Jack Foster, to Mac Morey, to Draven Fine, who we used to do Cover 4 with, to everyone else that I've worked with. Thank you all for the memories. Thank you all for the camaraderie. Thank you all for making me into a better journalist. And thank you to Benny Smith for allowing us to be there. And thank you, Drew, DJ Drew. I wish I had known you better while I was there. Because it is a big community, and WTK 90.3 The Rock is always going to be UT's College of Rock. And no matter what direction that station gets taken to, we here on Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports are never going to let that spirit die, because this is the College of Rock. And this is the embodiment, this is the spirit, and it's never going to die. So for Dylan Becker, for Gus Tomazeli, I'm Nick Hill, and you've been listening to the special edition of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports on, even though we're not technically on it, in spirit we are, WUTK 90.3 The Rock, UT's College
of Rock. There we go.